Ever wondered how something as easily accessible as porn can mess with your mind, relationships, and even your self-worth? It's not just about the act, it's about the expectations it sets. The pressure to meet a distorted standard of beauty, performance, and intimacy. The moment you click, you're pulled into a world where everything seems perfect, but it's all an illusion. But here's the hard truth: those fantasies are not reality. And the longer you stay in that world, the more you start believing the lie that real-life relationships can and should measure up to what's on screen. Your partner, your body, your intimacy, none of it can live up to the fake perfection portrayed in the fantasy world. But that's not the worst part. The real damage comes when you start to expect these fantasies to shape your real world. It ruins trust, love, and genuine connection. It doesn't just affect you, it messes with your partner's view of themselves too. By the end of this video, you'll understand how to break free from these unrealistic standards, heal your relationships, and discover a much deeper, more fulfilling intimacy than any screen could ever offer. Stick around, because the solution is simpler and more powerful than you think. Lust can ruin everything: relationships, peace, and purpose, but there's hope. Discover the 7 biblical secrets to destroy lust before it destroys you. Grab my ebook now from the description and take control today. Purity isn't just about actions, it starts deep within, in the heart. Jesus didn't only address the external behavior, he focused on the inner world, where true transformation begins. Lust, for instance, isn't merely an external problem, it's a condition of the heart. When we understand this, it changes everything about how we approach purity. Jesus' words in Matthew 5:28 cut through the surface, revealing the deeper truth. But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. It's not just about what you do, it's about what you allow to simmer in your mind. That's the starting point. So when the world around us pushes distorted images of sex and beauty, it's easy to get caught up. But God calls us to a higher standard, one that transforms us from the inside out. Purity isn't about rigid rules, it's about aligning your heart with God's will. It's about protecting your mind from the lies the world feeds you and refusing to accept its counterfeit versions of love and intimacy. It's about looking at others with respect, seeing them as human beings made in the image of God, not objects for personal satisfaction. And let's be honest, purity isn't a one-time decision. It's an ongoing battle, a constant choice to guard your heart, renew your mind, and reject the temptations that bombard us daily. But the reward: a life of deeper intimacy, deeper relationships, and a closer walk with God. Purity isn't just about what you avoid, it's about what you gain in the process: true freedom, true connection, and ultimately, a heart that reflects God's love in everything you do. God's blueprint for human sexuality isn't about just physical attraction or pleasure. It's far deeper than that. It's rooted in purpose and intimacy. When we step away from that, we miss out on what he intended: a beautiful, life-giving connection between a man and a woman. From the very beginning, God designed marriage as a sacred covenant, a reflection of his love and commitment. In Genesis, he didn't just say, "Be fruitful and multiply." He said, "For this reason, a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and they will become one flesh." This wasn't just about reproduction, it was about connection, 2 lives becoming one, not just physically but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Sexuality, when understood within God's plan, becomes a sacred expression of love and trust. It's the ultimate act of vulnerability, a reflection of God's love for us. But outside of that design, it becomes distorted. The world has taught us that sexuality is just a means to an end: pleasure, satisfaction, or even validation. Yet God's design was never about using someone to meet a need. It's about giving, serving, and honoring one another. It's about making space for love, not just lust. When we operate outside of this divine design, we start looking for fulfillment in places that were never meant to satisfy. This leads to brokenness, emptiness, and disconnection. But when we align our sexuality with God's will, it brings wholeness, purpose, and joy, a reflection of the deep, unbreakable bond he intended for us. True intimacy is found only when we follow his design. Lust is more than just a fleeting desire. It's a destructive force that can consume your heart and mind. It doesn't just disrupt your thoughts, it warps how you view others, and ultimately how you view yourself. Lust creates a hunger for something unattainable, pushing you to objectify others rather than see them as people created in God's image. It's a lie that tells you this is what you need to feel satisfied, even though it leaves you empty every time. Think about the world around you. Everywhere you look, society tells you that what you have isn't enough, that you need more, something better, someone new. But when you start coveting, whether it's a person, a lifestyle, or even a moment, you're opening the door to a much deeper problem. It's no longer just about wanting something, it's about needing it to fill a void that only God can satisfy. The Bible warns us time and again about the dangers of this insatiable desire. In James 1:14-15, it's clear, "But each person is tempted when they are dragged away by their own evil desire and enticed. Then, after desire has conceived, it gives birth to sin, and sin, when it is full grown, gives birth to death." This process starts small but grows exponentially, taking root in your heart and producing destruction in its wake. Lust and coveting don't just harm your relationship with others, they distort your relationship with God. You're seeking fulfillment in something temporary, rather than finding your true satisfaction in Him. Overcoming this begins by recognizing that nothing in this world, no matter how enticing it seems, can ever truly satisfy you. Only Christ can. Porn creates a world that isn't just a little different from reality. It's an entire alternate universe built on illusions. At first glance, it may seem harmless, but the deeper you dive, the more distorted your understanding of intimacy, love, and relationships becomes. You start to believe that what's depicted on screen is how things should be, perfectly choreographed, with no room for flaws, imperfection, or vulnerability. What's left out of the picture is what truly matters in real life: connection, trust, emotional depth. In the world of porn, intimacy is reduced to mere physical satisfaction, detached from the emotional, spiritual, and relational components that make love meaningful. The people on those screens aren't real. They're actors playing roles designed to keep you hooked, to make you want more. But that's not how love works. It's not about instant gratification. It's about patience, understanding, and mutual respect. Porn tells you it's about perfection, but perfection isn't real, and it's definitely not healthy. When you let this distorted version of reality seep into your life, it doesn't just affect your expectations for intimacy. It seeps into how you view others, how you judge their bodies, their performance, and their worth. The truth? It's impossible to live up to the perfect fantasies played out on screen, so you end up feeling frustrated, disconnected, and empty. You're chasing a shadow that doesn't even exist. The longer you live in this lie, the harder it becomes to embrace the beauty of real relationships, rooted in authenticity, imperfection, and growth. Breaking free from this distortion isn't easy, but it's possible. It starts with recognizing the truth. Real love is messy, beautiful, and deeply fulfilling, not a performance for the camera. Pornography isn't just a personal issue. It spreads its poison into every relationship you touch. It promises excitement and instant satisfaction, but in reality it quietly undermines the foundation of trust, intimacy, and love. The longer you let it linger, the deeper its impact goes. What starts as a secret indulgence soon spills over into your connections with others, particularly those closest to you. When you view porn, you're not just escaping reality, you're teaching your brain to disconnect from the real, raw beauty of intimacy. The problem is you bring this distorted view into your relationships. You start comparing your partner to those images, those unrealistic standards that don't even exist outside of that screen. It's an unfair comparison, one that's bound to create disappointment, dissatisfaction, and resentment. What happens next is more subtle but devastating. You begin to retreat emotionally, unable to be fully present. You crave the fantasy more than the reality, creating a disconnect between you and your partner. You stop sharing your heart, and the love you once had becomes overshadowed by the distance that grows between you. Trust once broken is hard to rebuild, and you may find yourself trapped in a cycle of secrecy and shame, constantly hiding your true self. This isn't just about broken trust, it's about the breakdown of intimacy. True intimacy is built on vulnerability and mutual respect, yet pornography thrives on the opposite: objectification and detachment. If you're trapped in this cycle, you're not just losing moments of connection with your partner, you're losing your ability to love authentically, deeply, and freely. The true beauty of a relationship is found in knowing and being known, something no screen can ever replicate. Addiction to porn is more than just a habit, it's a cycle, one that keeps you trapped in an endless loop of shame and guilt. The moment you give in, there's a temporary high, a fleeting sense of satisfaction, but then reality hits, the guilt sets in. You feel like you've failed again, and that weight of shame can be unbearable. It doesn't matter how many times you promise yourself you won't do it again, the cycle continues. Here's the painful part: the guilt only fuels the addiction. You feel terrible about what you've done, so you turn back to the very thing that caused the pain in the first place, hoping for some relief. But it only makes the cycle worse. It's like a broken record that never stops playing. But this is where the danger lies. The more you indulge, the more you start to believe the lie that you are somehow beyond redemption, that you've crossed some line you can never return from. This only strengthens the grip of addiction. You spiral deeper, feeling isolated, ashamed, and hopeless. But there is a way out. This cycle isn't a life sentence, it's a trap that can be broken. The first step is to acknowledge the cycle for what it is. Only then can you begin to recognize the false promises of porn and start to heal. It's about understanding that true freedom isn't found in hiding or indulging, but in facing the truth and seeking real healing. That healing doesn't happen overnight, but with time, effort, and commitment, you can break free from the chains of addiction and guilt. And in the process, you'll discover the peace that comes from living a life aligned with your values, not the lies of false gratification. Ready to break free from lust's grip? Discover the 7 biblical secrets that will empower you to destroy lust before it destroys you. Grab your copy now, link in the description and pinned comment. Imagine if you could reset the way you think, break free from the constant pressure and lies that the world bombards you with. What if you could retrain your mind to focus on purity, truth, and peace instead of the toxic desires that hold you captive? That's exactly what God promises us. The power to change how we think and live starts with transforming our minds. The world fills our heads with images, ideas, and messages that distort what true love and intimacy really are. Every day we're sold a counterfeit version of reality, one that leaves us feeling empty, unsatisfied, and constantly wanting more. But God doesn't want us stuck in this endless cycle. He offers a way out, the renewal of our minds. When we immerse ourselves in God's Word, we begin to see the truth about our purpose, relationships, and desires. Our minds, once tangled in lies, are cleared, allowing us to experience true freedom. It's a process, not an overnight fix, but it's possible. As Romans 12:2 reminds us, we're called to be transformed by the renewing of our minds. This means actively rejecting the world's standards and embracing the truth of who we are in Christ. The more we choose to focus on what's pure, lovely, and honorable, the more our thinking aligns with God's will. This renewal doesn't just change how we view lust or temptation. It changes how we view ourselves, others, and the world around us. It's the key to breaking free from unrealistic expectations and living in the freedom God designed for us. So why settle for lies when you can have the truth? It's time to renew your mind and step into the life God has always intended for you. It's easy to feel trapped when you've been caught in the cycle of lust and addiction, thinking you've gone too far, that healing isn't possible, or that you're beyond redemption. But here's the truth. No matter how deep the wounds, there's a way out, and it starts with Christ. His grace isn't just for the perfect. It's for those who need healing the most. Christ doesn't just forgive, he restores. The damage done by lust and pornography isn't beyond his reach. He doesn't see you as defined by your failures, but as someone he's willing to redeem and restore. That's the power of the cross. It transforms lives, no matter how broken they may seem. If you've been struggling, it's time to lay it all down. Not in shame, but in faith, trusting that God's power can bring healing to every part of you, mind, body, and spirit. The guilt and shame that weigh you down, he's ready to carry that for you. The scars, he can turn them into a testimony of his healing power. It's not about perfection, it's about surrendering to the one who can make all things new. The restoration Christ offers isn't just a future promise, it's available now. When you confess, he's faithful to forgive. His love is greater than any sin you've committed, any habit you've formed. And in that love, there's freedom. Freedom from the chains of lust. Freedom to step into the life God designed for you, one of purity, peace, and true intimacy. Don't wait. Healing is just a prayer away. Open your heart to Christ and watch as he begins the restoration process, leading you toward the wholeness and freedom you've been longing for. The world bombards us with temptations, distractions, and false ideals. Every day we're offered countless opportunities to compromise. But here's the thing, you have the power to protect your heart. No one else can do it for you. It's up to you to draw the line, to create space between yourself and the things that threaten your peace, your mind, and your soul. Think about this for a moment. How many times have you let yourself fall into patterns of regret simply because you didn't set that boundary? Boundaries aren't about building walls. They're about defining what you will and will not allow into your life. When it comes to lust and the temptations of this world, setting boundaries isn't just wise, it's essential. This isn't about living in fear, it's about living in freedom. The freedom that comes when you've made a conscious decision to guard your heart, whether it's limiting exposure to explicit content, creating safe spaces with your partner, or simply choosing what media to engage with. These decisions create a protective shield around your mind. You can't be passive in this area. It's active, deciding in advance what's acceptable and what's not. Protecting your heart means being intentional. It's saying, I value my purity, I cherish my relationships, I want to protect what's sacred to me. It's about taking responsibility for your emotional and spiritual health, ensuring that you're not letting anything seep in that would distort your view of love, intimacy, or connection. The more boundaries you set, the more you allow yourself to live free from the trap of false expectations. Your heart, your most valuable treasure, is worth protecting. The choice is yours. We've dug deep into how lust distorts not only our perceptions of intimacy, but also our relationships and our own self-worth. What we've seen is clear. The impact of unrealistic expectations from pornography is far-reaching, and without intervention it can slowly erode the very foundation of what makes a healthy, fulfilling relationship. But here's the good news. It's never too late to take control. Setting boundaries, guarding your heart, renewing your mind with truth, and seeking God's strength are all powerful steps toward breaking free from the chains of lust and reclaiming your life. And while the journey may seem daunting, remember this, you don't have to do it alone. The battle for purity, for healthy relationships, for true intimacy begins when you make a choice. That choice is in your hands today. You have the ability to walk away from the lies, the distortions, and the false standards. You have the strength to rebuild and redefine your expectations in a way that honors not only God, but also yourself and those you love. Now, if you're ready to take the next step and truly destroy lust before it destroys you, I've put together something just for you. My ebook, 7 Biblical Secrets to Destroy Lust Before It Destroys You. This guide isn't just a collection of advice, it's a blueprint for transformation, grounded in biblical truths that have the power to radically shift how you view yourself, your relationships, and the world around you. If you're serious about breaking free from the grip of lust and building a life of purity and peace, click the link in the description to grab your copy. The tools you need are waiting. Don't let lust control your life any longer. It's time to reclaim your power, your heart, and your future.